The 2010 University of Washington Freshman Convocation will be opened with the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner by Meowset Abbott, accompanied by the University Wind Ensemble, conducted by Professor Timothy Saltzman. Miss Abbott is a freshman and plans to major in music. The audience will please rise.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. I'm Ronald Moore, the University Marshal. In my regular job, I'm a professor of philosophy, but as the University Marshal, I have the honor and privilege of offering you our first words of official greeting. 4 years from now, I have the equally pleasing opportunity to give you our last official words when I declare that the 139th commencement exercises of the University of Washington are now closed. There is a gratifying symmetry in this hail and farewell, a symmetry that is reflected as well in the 4 Ionic columns that you see before you. These are replicas of the original columns that graced the facade of the university's first building, opened in 1861 on a rise in downtown Seattle, a piece of property that the university still owns, but is now occupied by the Fairmont Olympic Hotel. And these same columns will be prominently displayed on the commencement stage in Husky Stadium when you march up to them to graduate. If you look around you at the mezzanine level, you will see banners, actually ganfalons, identifying each of the university's schools and colleges arranged in historical order, beginning with the College of Arts and Sciences and ending with the School of Public Health. Come graduation day, some of you will be carrying these banners, and the rest of you will be parading behind them, according to your school or college. The columns and the banners are cherished parts of the University of Washington traditions. And as you join in the life of this university, you become part of our traditions. Our experience of the cycles of beginning, development, and ending becomes your experience. It is important to remember that it's not just this university's life and traditions that you're joining. Instead, you're entering into the life and traditions of an ancient and continuous body of learning that connects us to the earliest institutions of higher learning in Europe. Indeed, ultimately to Plato's Academy in the 4th century BC. These connections are symbolized in the medieval caps and gowns that we wear on these occasions, and of course by the special ritual object that the University Marshal carries on such ceremonies, the mace. The mace is an ancient symbol of authority that reminds us that universities are custodians both of enduring traditions, of learning, and of the power they bestow on those who come to learn. The University of Washington Mace is embellished with finely wrought metal sculptures of the university seal and Denny Hall, and is topped by a graceful rendition of Drumheller Fountain. It's used, in ancient days, it was used actually to discipline students who got unruly. And I never have had to do that, but I understand that at Yale, a number of years ago, the marshal actually did go up on stage and push away a student who'd taken the microphone to make a political statement, used the mace on him. I thought I was going to have to do that myself a few years ago at commencement when a student actually came up and took the microphone just as we were about to close. But then he said, "Wendy, will you marry me?" And everybody applauded. She said yes, by the way. So the mace and all these other festive ritual ingredients are simply symbolic reminders of the university's special way of uniting where we are now with what has brought us here, so that we can get a good fix on where we are going. And it's great that we're going there together. This brings me to the nature of the event itself. It's an important function of ritual occasions such as this to punctuate the inevitable flow of experience, to pause and reflect on where we are now, what has gone before, where we're going. John Dewey, a great 20th century American philosopher, pointed out that value most readily accrues to experience when we articulate it into episodes with beginnings and middles and ends, and then take time to think about what those episodes mean. It's all too easy in our busy modern world to be thinking about breakfast while we're having a shower, then thinking about a history assignment while we're gulping down breakfast, then thinking about plans for a lunch date while we're sitting in our history class. Dewey's message was, stop. Enjoy the shower with its beginning and its middle and its end. And when it's over, say to yourself, now that was a shower. And likewise with breakfast and the history class and all the other events of the day. At the University of Washington, we regard festive ritual ceremonies like this one as occasions to stop. Stop and reflect. In beginning your studies here, you're ending one stage of your lives. Think about it. And you're starting another. Think about that. In a few years at commencement, you will look back at the whole of your undergraduate life here and reflect with pride and pleasure on what it all meant. Now, a convocation is, as those of you who recall your high school Latin may remember, a calling together. Today, we call together our incoming students, their families and friends, so that we may celebrate with you the beginning of university education and welcome you all to membership in our campus community. By calling all of us, students, faculty, families, friends, together in this place, we are underscoring a point of cooperation and mutual commitment. You, students and your parents and relatives, are now members of the University of Washington family. Like families everywhere, we will be sharing our concerns, our affections, our aspirations, and our devotion to the project of creating a better world. We sincerely hope that these newly forged family connections will be lifelong bonds of friendship and allegiance. And we hope that you will always feel as proud and happy about us as we already feel about this outstanding incoming class. I'm now honored to introduce the person who will preside over our ceremony today, Dr. Phyllis Wise, our interim president. Dr. Wise has served the university with distinction as provost and executive vice president since 2005, when we lured her away from the University of California, Davis. The provost, by the way, is the university's chief academic and budget officer, the second in command to the president, if one can say that anyone is ever in command of a university. There's something quite remarkable I'd like to mention about Dr. Wise. Dr. Wise is a professor of physiology, biophysics, biology, obstetrics, and gynecology. And even though she has had an enormous burden of administrative duties over the last 5 years, she has also managed to continue an active research program. Part of her research deals with how estrogens influence brain function and how this influence changes during aging and brain injury. I just don't know how she does it. It's amazing. President Wise.
Thank you very much, Marshall Moore. It is a particular honor and privilege for me to be one of the first people to welcome you as the newest Huskies. We are so happy to have you here. We've been preparing since you started applying for your entry onto our campus, and we're so happy for today. The path that you've taken here is probably very different from each other, and if you turn either right or left, forward or backward, you'll probably see someone who has taken a different path than yours. Some of you have come directly from high school. Others of you have transferred from another university. Some of you have worked first and decided that further education would be greatly beneficial to you. No matter what your path has been, we welcome you here. We welcome you as the newest Huskies. There were over 23,000 applications for this year's freshman and junior classes. So you should consider yourself very, very fortunate to be amongst us. We certainly consider ourselves very fortunate to have you. And what you should know is that we did not only consider your grades, we did not only consider what you did in the classroom wherever you were, because we took a holistic review to look at your whole life, what the challenges were that you faced already, what your successes have been, what your life experiences have been, and what that will bring to the University of Washington and make the university an even richer place for your presence here. So let me first address the parents and loved ones who are in the audience, who are about to leave your students here with us. First of all, I want you to know that we feel very privileged that you are entrusting these young people to us. We will take good care of them. They will get an incredibly rich experience. I hope they will take advantage of every opportunity that the university offers. But I know that this parting moment, which you will do later on this afternoon, will be difficult. I remember when I went off to college and my mother and father and my sister left me off, and I'm not at all sure whether it was harder for me to leave them for a bit of a lonely start or for them to leave me. But think about it. You'll get to use the remote. You won't have to fill the refrigerator quite so frequently. And there'll be other things that I think you'll find you can do with your free time. But suffice it to say, I am sure for those of you for whom this will be an empty nest and the first time that you will experience your children and your loved ones away, it will not be easy. And so I urge you to contact them frequently, watch over them, but don't hover, and enjoy their growing experience which they will have here. But indeed, we are truly grateful for you to allow us to have their lives for a short period of time. For the students here, I want you to know that you are really, really welcome to one of the finest, premier research universities that you will ever find, no matter where you go on earth. The Times of London just judged us 23rd in the world, the 4th in terms of public universities. The Shanghai Jiaotong survey counts us among the top 20, and wherever you go, you'll see surveys that show that the University of Washington is an incredibly rich and wonderful place to be learning, discovering, and then mentoring, because you will be mentored by many advisors and counselors as you start, but I would make you a bet that within the first quarter, you will begin to mentor others, because I hope that you will get to know not only your fellow freshmen and fellow transfer students, but also all of the students around you, whether or not you're talking about in the classroom or outside of the classroom. You'll have a chance to study abroad. You'll have a chance to do experiential learning. You'll have a chance to do service learning. We excel at all of those. You'll have a chance to do research in laboratories and in various different venues that faculty work beyond just the classroom. So you will also be working with Husky alumni who are proud to help you. You will be working with people in business and in the NGOs around town because you'll be able to do internships with them. Regardless, I can't tell you the breadth and the depth of the kind of experience that will be in front of you, and it will be up to you to really take advantage of that. I hope you will take some risks, but not carry on risky behavior. It is important that you take these risks, that you take these challenges, that you take this kind of stimulating environment, that it is apt to be quite different than anything else you've ever experienced. I think you will come away all the richer for it and be ready to go out into the world as leaders in whatever you decide is your discipline of choice. So, when you become a Husky graduate 4 years from now, we will all be even more proud of the fact that you have spent this time with us and made us richer for it, as well as making your lives richer for it. Our promise is we won't let you down, and I'm sure you won't let us down either. And now I'd like to introduce to you the members of our stage party today. The ultimate responsibility for the university lies with the members of the Board of Regents. 10 citizens of the state who are appointed by the governor and confirmed by the state senate. These dedicated men and women devote many hours each year to the welfare of the university and therefore to your welfare. 6 of our regents are with us today, and I'd like to introduce them at this time. If you'd hold your applause until I've been able to introduce them all, and I will ask the regents to rise as I introduce them. Regent Herb Simon, who is the chair of the Board of Regents. Regent Christiane Blake. Regent Stan Baer. Regent Joanne Harrell. Regent Sally Jewell. And Regent Frances Yoon, who's our student regent, but really is a full-blown regent. Ladies and gentlemen, the regents of the University of Washington. Thank you. Also seated with us on this platform today are the deans of the university's 16 schools and colleges, our senior administrative leadership, including vice presidents and vice provosts, faculty members that are leaders of the faculty, representatives of the student body, the faculty senate, and the Alumni Association. Would you please stand and be recognized? And lastly, please join me in thanking Professor Timothy Saltzman and our student wind ensemble who have been playing this marvelous music this morning. And now I'd like to introduce the student body president, an economics and international studies major who has just entered her senior year, as the new president of the Association of Students of the University of Washington, better known as ASUW, Madeline McKenna. Madeline.
Good morning, fellow students, parents, and family members. And most of all, welcome to the University of Washington freshman class of 2014. As your ASUW president, let me tell you what most people are not going to tell you about your college experience. You can never be fully prepared for the 4 years that lie ahead. And to illustrate this, I thought I would share a story from my own first year at the UW. In the summer after my freshman year, I studied abroad through the International Studies Department in Ghana. After the program's conclusion, a few students and I spent a couple of days at a national wildlife reserve, taking in some of the natural beauty that West Africa has to offer. While we were there, we took a guided hike in hopes of seeing some of the park's inhabitant flora and fauna, including gazelles, crocodiles, and what I was most excited for, elephants. Now, I didn't know this, but our Ghanaian guide explained to us that elephants can be kind of skittish, and they will charge at you if they feel threatened, which is why our guide wore a shotgun strapped to his back. He told us not to worry because if an elephant charged at us, he would just fire a warning shot and the elephant would be scared off. One of my fellow travelers mentioned that he had seen on Man vs. Wild that if an elephant charges at you, you should run in a zigzag pattern to throw the elephant off your path. So, between a shotgun and Bear Grylls' words of wisdom, we were feeling pretty okay. We breathed a sigh of relief. And after about an hour of hiking through the savanna brush, we reached a clearing, and standing there were 3 African elephants. 2 females and a male, just standing there. Stunned by their sheer size and graceful beauty, we got as close to the elephants as we could while remaining at a safe distance, perhaps 20 or 30 yards. And then we proceeded to do what most college students would want to do in that situation. We wanted pictures with the elephants. Best profile picture ever, right? So there we were, our backs to the elephants, taking pictures, doing this kind of thing. And after a while, we noticed that the 2 female elephants had left the clearing, and only the bull elephant remained. And then the bull elephant turned toward us. And at this point, we were getting a little nervous. We weren't quite sure if we were in danger yet, so we continued with our picture taking. But then the elephant started walking toward us. And then he started walking a little faster. And at this point, we were definitely nervous. And we were backing up a little bit. And then, without warning, the elephant broke into a run. And we panicked, looking around us frantically for our guide. Look, where was the warning shot? But there was the guide, 50 yards off, yelling over his shoulder, "Run, run!" And we ran as fast as we could with 6 tons of male African elephant running towards us. All I could think about was, okay, zigzag pattern, and hoping that at least one other person in our group was a slower runner than me. Finally, we made it into the safety of the brush. We realized that the elephant was no longer running after us, and we survived. Now, while entering college is not necessarily the same thing as a 6-ton elephant charging at you at full speed, what I want you to take away from this story is that nothing can fully prepare you for what you're about to embark on. You can listen to every advice that your parents, advisors, and FIG leaders have to offer you, but the truth is, you will never be able to prepare yourself for your college experience. You're just going to have to jump in and do it with all of the gusto and enthusiasm you can muster. There are literally thousands of opportunities for you here to get involved and find yourself. You're just going to have to try them and be prepared to fail every once in a while, which is okay, because the path to self-discovery is rarely a straight one. Just be rest assured that you already have the smarts, the talents, and the drive to succeed at this university. And be assured that when that elephant charges at you, you'll know how to rise to the occasion, and you will run. Thank you.
One of the things we want to do today is to introduce you to some of what you will be learning and the faculty that are here. So there's probably no one better suited to giving you a little bit of this introduction than the Dean and Vice Provost for Undergraduate Academic Affairs, Dr. Ed Taylor. Dr. Taylor graduated from Gonzaga University and then got his PhD at the University of Washington. He has been here as a member of the faculty of the College of Education since 1994 and has been the Dean and Vice Provost for Undergraduate Academic Affairs since 2006. Would you please welcome Dr. Taylor?
Madeline, wonderful. Before I introduce the faculty here, let me say a few words about who you are. Let me begin to introduce you to each other. And perhaps embrace the question, what is it that makes you so special? I keep hearing that you are a particularly special and unique class. So what makes you in this moment so distinct? Is it that you've been wonderful students? 3.7 grade point average. Over 1,200 on your SATs, pretty exceptional. We have valedictorians, salutatorians in this room, national merit scholars in this room. You've been exceptional in the classroom, maybe that's it. But that alone doesn't make you distinct and special. Maybe it's where you come from. There are students in this room who just a few days ago got on a plane in Johannesburg, South Africa, had a layover at Heathrow, and arrived in Seattle and just checked into Lander Hall. Down the hall from a student who just took a flight from Beijing Airport, landed in Seattle, is in Terry Hall. Not too far from a student from Newport High School. Now the odds are pretty good you're going to meet somebody from Newport because there are about 205 students here from Newport High School, 204 from Inglemoor, 200 from Skyline, more than 167 students from Garfield, just about 3 miles from here, will join your brothers and sisters from Franklin. You're not rivals anymore. There are Shorewood and Shorecrest students right here. There are students from Forks, 3 of them. I'm going to leave that alone. Not a single Bella in the class, though. There are students from Mabton, from the Yakima Valley, from the San Fernando Valley, from Montlake, from Kent Lake, from Lake Union, from Green Lake, from Soap Lake, from Bonnie Lake. You're from all over the place. Maybe that's what makes you unique, from where you come. But it's got to be more than that. You come from interesting places, and you aspire to do interesting things. Maybe, Michael, what makes you all so unique, I said Michael, I'm sorry, did I say Michael? I should be careful because there are 220 Michaels in this class. I meant Michael from Mossy Rock. There's only one Michael from Mossy Rock. What makes Michael exceptional, I must say, is that your parents say so. They sent me a lovely email telling me how much they love you. And, Michael from Mossy Rock, that you are, quote, exceedingly bright. And I believe them. I could have said Andrew. There are 197 Andrews, 171 Matthews, 160 Daniels. There's a couple of them on this stage. 153 Alexanders, a whole lot of Davids, not all the same. But there's only one Anna from Kenai. She's right there. Wave, Anna. Hi. I make it sound like there are a lot more men in this class because 53% of the class are women. 166 of you are Sarah. Don't mistake them for each other. A whole lot of Jessicas, 193 Jessicas, 143 Emilys. But it's not just your name that makes you special, Aziz. Maybe it's what you've done outside of the classroom, not just inside of the classroom. Let me ask you a couple of questions. How many of you have been involved in, during the time you've been in high school, in some sort of community service, some time of volunteer work? Raise your hand. Put your hand up nice and high. Okay, good. How many of you, That's how you got here. It was no mistake. How many of you plan to be involved in some sort of leadership and service while you were here at this university? Raise your hand. This is a good chance to put your hand up. Okay. Let me learn a little bit more about you. How many of you have a Facebook account? Okay, wow, okay. A lot more than did service. Wow. Let's find out a little bit more. How many of you have an iPod? Raise your hand. Okay. Let's get a little bit more intimate. Stand up if you have Justin Bieber on your iPod. There you go. Please note that I'm standing. Okay, so let me make this easier for you. Wink at me if you have Justin Bieber on your iPod and you don't want to stand up. Okay? 2/3 of this room, you can stop winking now, because 2/3 of this room just winked. Right? How many of you have written a paper longer than 10 pages? Wave your hand. If you had wait a minute, I didn't finish the question. How many of you have written a paper longer than 10 pages on a manual typewriter, the kind you don't plug in? All right. Okay, let me ask some of you. For those of you, parents, and for those of you on the stage, how many of you have written a paper longer than 10 pages on a manual typewriter? Please wave your hand. Okay. How many of you on the stage have written a paper on a manual typewriter? Wink at me if you don't want to raise your hand. That's a whole lot of manual typewriters. That's a lot of whiteout. How many of you have received a text message within the last 5 minutes? Uh-huh. What makes you so special and what makes you so unique? Stand up if you would. The entire class, would you stand up, incoming? All of you from Mossy Rock, stand up. Everybody stand if you can. Okay. Here is what makes you special and unique. The fact of the matter is I don't know the answer to that, but that's why you're here, to discover why it is that you are unique, why this moment is important and special to you. Because discovery is at the heart of this mission. What I can tell you, as you look around, you are surrounded by people who love you and surrounded by people who are devoted to your success and your well-being. And as Naomi Shihab Nye says in her poem, Famous, never, ever forget what you can do. Families and members of the audience and members of the stage, would you please stand and welcome our incoming class, please? We've learned a little bit about you. Let me introduce you to some very special people here on the stage. Some of your teachers who will be here for you the next few years. They are experts in nearly every imaginable field at this university and doing work that is significant to this world. About 1/4 of our students at the university assist in research laboratories of our faculty. Some start even before they get to the university, and some start as early as your freshman year and your sophomore year. For example, over the past few years, dozens of undergraduates have worked in the Lamborghini Advanced Composite Structures Laboratory under the leadership of Director and Assistant Professor of Aeronautics and Astronautics, Paolo Ferrabolli. Dr. Ferrabolli, would you please stand? Dr. Ferrabolli and scientists are developing composite materials that are used in the manufacturing of everything from airliners, sports cars, to golf clubs. The lab features state-of-the-art equipment for testing newly developed materials, including lightning strike generators, pneumonic crash sled capable of crushing full-size vehicles, and high-speed cameras that can take 82,000 frames per second. Dr. Ferrabolli, you're doing amazing work. Thank you. Or perhaps you'll be one of the undergraduates working at the Institute for Stem Cell and Regenerative Medicine. Interdisciplinary teams there have expertise in fields ranging from bioengineering and bioethics to cancer biology, genome science, and nanotechnology, working to develop novel therapies to treat heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, blindness, and spinal cord injuries. Other researchers are working with Dr. Tony Blau. Dr. Blau, would you please stand? Professor of Medicine and co-director of the Institute, Dr. Blau. His group has is developing new methods for personalized cancer treatment that involve placing cells under the remote control of small molecule drugs. This work will one day significantly reduce the negative side effects associated with cancer treatment. Thank you, Dr. Blau. There are also wonderful opportunities for students in the arts. For example, every year, Professor of Dance Jennifer Salk, one of our outstanding faculty members here, takes a group of students in the dance program's Teaching Methods course to Yakima to spend a weekend teaching dance to low-income students. Professor Salk, please stand. The work is funded by a federal program called Gear Up, which is designed to help youth successfully complete high school and go on to college. Many of these students are not even dance majors, but they go on to say that this is the most marvelous experience they've had at the University of Washington. There are endless opportunities for you at this university. They might be global, they might be local, they might be supported by the Mary Gates Endowment for Students. No matter what it is, just keep in mind, never forget what you can do. Welcome to the University of Washington and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Ed. I think that everyone in this room has had an opportunity to stand. And I think what this really means is that we are all family. In fact, the University of Washington is over 70,000 people strong. And so we are, in some senses, a small city. But I want you to know we are family. We are here to help each other, to guide each other, to counsel each other, to work with each other, and to play with each other. So it is my distinct pleasure to, and it really is a pleasure, to introduce the speaker for today, and that is Professor Tom Daniel. I know Tom from many different venues because he was the chair of the search committee that found me as the provost. And so there's a very special place in my heart for him and the search committee because I feel that this has been an unbelievable 5 years, and I look forward to the coming year as your president during this interim period of time. It is a critical time for all of us, and together we'll be able to do so much more than any one of us individually. But Tom is more than just the person who found me to become the provost. He is a professor of biology. He is the personification of what we know our faculty to be. They are outstanding teachers. They are amazing discoverers. They are critically engaged with the university and beyond. Tom got his degree from Duke and then has been here since 1984. He has so many awards that I would take the rest of this time if I were to list them, but one of them was that he was a MacArthur Fellow, i.e. the awardee, one of the awardees of what we call the Genius Award. He serves on numerous editorial boards. He has been the chair of the Department of Biology. He has been a great counselor to many, many students and other faculty members. His research is in the biomechanics of movement. He uses both the experimental approach as well as computerization of visualized ways of looking at biomechanics. He truly is an exemplary indicator of the kind of interdisciplinary work that we do in our teaching, in our research, and our engagement. It's a pleasure to introduce Tom Daniel.
Thank you, President Wise, and welcome Class 2014. 4 years from now, you will graduate, and there'll be another World Cup. And as a member of the faculty, I want to thank you for that. I would also like to extend my very warm welcome to all of your families and friends who've come to help you settle here at the University of Washington. I want to begin by putting my talk in a bit of perspective, and I'm going to be blunt. There's a section that's a little sobering, and then it lightens up. And I'm going to focus on a set of surprises that I've experienced here with students at the university. Students that, in fact, form the inspiration that we like. You just heard one, Madeline, talk about her encounter with the bull elephant. I would call that the new Tuskegee promise. Sorry. Here's the sobering part, and I'll be done with it quickly. I come from a family of refugees and survivors of the Holocaust in Nazi Germany. I'm the last of the generation, that portal between that part of our history and today. My parents were denied the richness of education and opportunities that I've had the privilege of, and that you are about to experience. That history, however, and your future are intimately intertwined. Then, as now, there are moments of intolerance and distrust of others. Then, as now, those moments are fanned in part by some fabricated fears and by ignorance, things that are anathema to the halls of a university anywhere. The history of intolerance swept through Germany in the 30s and 40s. Not only were millions of lives lost and disrupted, institutions of learning such as this were decimated. Some of them were the world's most preeminent universities and colleges. We've learned some lessons, but that learning may sometimes fade. I speak now as a portal between then and now, and ask that you be aware and be wary of anti-intellectualism that may rise from time to time. And beware and wary of the dismissal of knowledge and the distrust of expertise. But at the same time, shun blind acceptance of fact and blind acceptance of falsehoods. Then as now, you have to question things around you, every aspect of it. Here at this institution, questioning dogma and challenging the experts of the fields you pursue, challenging us, challenging them, every one of them, is what we do. It's not only allowed, it's revered. And as long as we're able to recruit students like you, who want to partner with us in discovery and dissemination of knowledge, who will be good hands, we will be in good hands. And as long as you parents continue to encourage these students to pursue these paths and to question us and to challenge us, we will be in good hands. In fact, the theme of this brief address is that how you, the students, are the fuel that propels this institution forward. You are the fuel that's driving the engine of discovery. In fact, this talk is about you. It was, according to several people calling me earlier, meant to be inspiring. I was to inspire you. That's intimidating. And in fact, doesn't capture the essence of what a faculty member can do. I will confess, I took the word convocation speech and put it on the Google and said, on the Google, oh gosh, and said, what come up? And to no surprise, they say the same thing over and over again. Not only think out of the box, stomp on it. That was a quote from, I won't say what university. Here's another one. Create a new box that nobody ever thought to think out of before. Or the Oscar Wilde quote that is in about 8 2010 addresses for Convocation, that is, be yourself, everybody else is already taken. 3 Convocation addresses had the famous philosopher James T. Kirk, go where no man has gone before. Or my personal favorite philosopher, Wayne Gretzky, you gotta skate to where the puck is gonna be. Those aphorisms emphasize the expectation that you'll do something new and something different, and you'll be well positioned to do so. But they don't really inspire, they don't inform, and they don't really guide. Instead, to my surprise, the inspiration I have to relay comes not from any advice I read online, or from deans, I apologize, or previous speakers, but from students that I've had the distinct pleasure and honor to work with. It's been a source of continual inspiration to everyone on this stage to work with you. And that inspiration draws from the surprises you give us and the collaboration that happens. So I'd like to share 4 vignettes, very brief stories, of inspiration we have had from students here. And I will admit, these are stories in my immediate circle of individuals, but I think they're generalizable to all of you, much like the story of the elephant. The first story is called Sarah, Surprise in the Classroom. I was teaching Biology 101. As you can surmise, that's an introductory biology class. It no longer exists under that number, but it was a large class, not much smaller than this group of students here. I noted that when Dean Taylor asked a student to stand for identifying some particular tune that I knew nothing about, whatever it was, the student stood. That took incredible bravery, or as my people say, chutzpah. It takes courage to raise your hand in class in a field of students. But this is where Sarah comes in. I was giving a lecture on how electrical signals are transmitted in nerve cells. Sarah raised her hand, and she said she could not follow the points I was trying to make. This is in a lecture of about 300. And would I please explain it in a different way? Well, that meant that I had to think about it in a different way. That meant I had to come up with some other explanation for how voltage-sensitive proteins are involved in the transmission of electrical signals in a neuron. Explain it in a different way. And I said, well, you got these proteins, they undergo these shape changes. I started miming it. She was standing, and she said, oh, like this, and if it affects the protein next to me, it should induce that protein to change shape. And I said, yeah, that's right. And the student next to her stood up, and the student said, well, I will trigger the next one, and they did the wave in my classroom. Isn't that inspiring? Voltage-sensitive students in your own classroom. So that was a surprise. That was inspiring. Students are changing the way we teach. Students are taking a firm hold of their education. They're owning it. And by asking questions and challenge, even in the challenging environment of a large lecture hall, they are changing how we teach. To this day, I use that student's example for how nerve conduction works. She has fueled the engine of discovery. Even just a question in a large classroom can be inspiring. I don't think he's in the band right now, so I won't embarrass him, but in his presence. Story 2 is Surprise in the Classroom, number 2, and it's named Jacob. I was teaching a class in biomechanics. It uses engineering principles to understand biological systems. Jacob, now in my lab, was enrolled in that class and had a passion for the combination of biology, teaching, and philosophy. He worked with a postdoc in my laboratory, developed amazing experiments, which were devices that could listen into and control the muscles in a freely moving animal with a radio on an insect. That is inspiring. But the real deal is the whole package. Jacob cares a lot also about teaching. Not how we teach or whether we're good at it, but how he can do so as an undergraduate. He became a teaching assistant in our introductory biology class. He therefore became a different kind of collaborator at the university. One not only collaborating in the vast research enterprise, but in the vast and exciting instructional mission of the university. That's inspiring. Students like you are changing the way we teach by teaching with us and connecting to each other in ways we had not been doing. Thank you. And please consider that. Surprise outside the classroom named Mike. Just two more short stories. He was enrolled in several of my classes. Quiet, tall guy. Pole vaulter. And he appeared on my doorstep one day asking if he could work in the lab. You got that. He appeared on my doorstep. I didn't invite him. He showed up. Could I work in the lab? He was a double major in mathematics and in biochemistry. And I sort of smiled and I said, this could be good. He was interested in doing computer modeling. We were working at the time on a very primitive computer model of how proteins in muscles generate force. It was a one-dimensional analysis of protein force generation, and he took our very simple model and extended it to a full three-dimensional analysis of protein force generation. It constituted the bulk of a major scientific paper for which he was the major author. That's inspiring. The math and the computer code was elegant. That was nice. But there's something else. Like all good computer programs, it had comments to let you know what each line was doing. His comments were in iambic pentameter. Mike went on to Stanford, a poet, a biochemist, a mathematician, pole vaulter. He received the President's Medal in the year 2000. He inspired us by showing how much fun it is to get involved in things. And just seeing the fun is inspiring to us on this stage. Please do that. And the last story is Amber. I never met her before. She was never in any of my classes. I'd not even heard a thing about her. She shows up at my doorstep. Amber is a double major in neurobiology and in the applied computational math sciences. And she said she would like to apply control theory to biology. And if you don't know what control theory is, you are not alone. I didn't really know. Amber built a device combining a data projector, computers, interfaces into a nervous system so that an insect could control its complete visual world via feedback. This sort of bug-like avatar now occupies my lab. It's very strange. In 10 weeks, she was able to show that primitive nervous systems can learn, and she can measure the learning, right? That interface between computers and nervous systems is an edgy area, and one that raises profound philosophical questions. Where does, in an amalgam of living and synthetic creatures, identity begin and end? Where is the interface of brains and computers? There are countless stories of such surprises and countless sources of inspiration. While the 4 stories I shared with you are about students I've met, there are, as you know, thousands similar at this institution, and they have a few common themes. Each student was fearless about asking questions. Each was bravely initiated conversations with faculty, with other graduate students, with undergraduates. They sought independence in their path. They paid no attention to the boundary between disciplines or, frankly, between faculty and student. And the 5th and most important one is they had a blast doing it. And watching them have that fun is great. So here at this institution, questioning dogma, challenging the experts of your field is not only allowed, it's revered. And as I said earlier, as long as we're able to get you here and make an environment for you in which you will prosper, we win. We win in our lives by having you here. And as long as you parents can continue to encourage this generation, we will be in very, very good hands. And we thank you for bringing all of your students this far. We will not forget the lessons of the past. And by encouraging you, our students, to be that fuel that drives this mission forward, we will be successful. Indeed, it is all about you. Thanks, and I look forward to meeting all of you.
The University of Washington Men's Glee Club, under the direction of Dr. Stephen Demarest, will now lead us in singing the school song, Rise Up with Pride for Washington. The lyrics to the song are printed on the last page of your program. Please rise.
Rise up with pride for Washington, for purple and for gold. From far and wide we meet as one, as huskies proud and bold. Oh, Washington, Washington, we hail to thee. Honor, truth, integrity, forever shine from lake to shore. Your light upon us evermore.
Got it? There are two verses to the song, as you'll see in the program. We'll sing them both now with the wind ensemble.
Rise up with pride for Washington, for purple and for gold. From far and wide we meet as one, as huskies proud and bold. Oh, Washington, we hail to thee. Honor, truth, integrity, forever shine from lake to shore. Your light upon us evermore. Rise up with pride for Washington, together hand in hand, we will proclaim our loyalty in song throughout the land. Oh, Washington, we hail to thee. Honor, truth, integrity, forever shine from lake to shore. Your light upon us
What a wonderful way to begin the academic year. On behalf of the university, I'd like to thank our honored guests and all of you who have made this day so special. The audience is requested to remain seated until the completion of the recession by the platform party. The 2010 Freshman Convocation of the University of Washington is now closed.